rundown. Alright, let me do that. Graphics. There are a lot of sample maps used in this version. Some of them were, not bad. Some of them were pretty terrible. Huge maps on the inners. Oh my god. Cut down the map sizes a little bit, even by half. You might have something. People hate huge dungeons with every other step a battle. Especially battles that are capable of wiping you off the map completely. Especially when you can't save anywhere. Especially when, oh my god. Alright, we'll leave that till the gameplay section. Alright, most of the graphics, it's typical RTP. I have no idea why the hell you chose to use the, DS character as the main character, because that just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Especially when there's a DS, an RTP version somewhere floating around. Where is it? Oh yeah, it was the pre-order bonus. If you pre-ordered VX Ace, you got the, oh, well, that doesn't really do you much good, does it, unless you pre-ordered. Well, let's just say, let me just tell you that there is a DS conversion to VX Ace somewhere that you couldn't have. You could have just used, I don't know, something else. The sprite just did not match up. You could have even made a generated character. It looked really weird, like you were some little itty bitty kid running around with some adult. Graphics, alright. Sound, typical RTP stuff. A few different songs, I think there were, that weren't RTP. It didn't really stand out to me, but it was there and it worked, and that was okay. I didn't mind that. Sound effects, nothing ear-rapingly bad, so yeah, kudos for that. Story, well, you didn't really have one, did ya? You're in a town, your friend says one or two things, and then you're just left to wander around and figure out what you're supposed to do. It isn't until like an hour or so in that you actually realize you're trying to sign up to this guild and have to do all these quests for them. And depending on how well you can get through the first dungeon, it can be more than an hour. Or, closest to 2. The writing was, it wasn't the worst I've seen, and some of the characters, the NPCs had a bit of character thrown in there. Would have been nice to see the grammar work done a little bit more. It had a few issues with the grammar. You really like your ellipses. That's the ... You're gonna have to learn how to put a sentence to bed. Just say, okay, that's the end of the sentence, full fucking stop, and continue on. Or question mark, or exclamation mark. But the writing, the characters and that, I would have liked to have seen more direction, maybe a little bit more from the actual characters you're playing as, especially since you took the liberty of, at the start, actually making your secondary character talk to your original character. It could have helped if they'd had a bit more to say, or I don't know, scenes or something. Gameplay. Oh my god, what can I say? Alright, the quiz at the start was pretty cool. I like that. I like that it gave you different characters and different character choices and that. Would have liked to have seen you see what you get as a character choice and then decide whether you want that or not and go and redo the thing, but you know, that's not a big deal. The one where you get a knight, you end up getting 2 knights, and I thought that was a bit odd because, well, I thought it might be something like a knight and a different class, and it was really weird that you get 2 knights and then all the other ones, I imagine, were all broken up. Different. That just seemed weird. Storyline, the way the gameplay went, you've got the towns, yeah, that's fine. You do eventually get to what you're doing and stuff, and then you go into the dungeons, and you die. A lot. There were many issues with the gameplay that really made this game collapse like a flan in the cupboard. Look, it's when you make a game, it's usually a give or take thing. You can't take everything from the player, because that's just cruel and unusual, and games like that should be shot and dragged out into the street. You have to give something back. And granted, you get some pretty decent weapon and armor drops and stuff like that, and yeah, that's okay. However, some of the builds of the characters, you've got to realise that they're not quite up to the task of taking on 20 million goblins at once. And I know that it was a 2-week game and that it was hard to balance and stuff like that. Yes, I realise that. But in the case of that, it's better to err on the side of caution and make it easier rather than harder. Because otherwise you're just going to frustrate the players, and after a while, if that keeps going on and on, players are just going to F12 that shit and get out of there. Alt F4 it and leave and never look back. And ultimately you want your people, the players, to actually finish the game. You want them to actually get to the end and say, wow, that wasn't so bad, I actually enjoyed that. And I'll definitely play this guy's other games. As it stands, there's just a bit too much humdruggery going on. The encounter rate was too high. There was no saving. Some of the skills you learnt didn't do really much for you. Like, they were all buffs and shit, but they weren't really helping out when you've only got 2 characters in a party. The enemies got ridiculous. Some of their skills that they had were just like the bats. The bats could I can easily see something run into 2 or 3 bats and get sucked to death very easily. I mean, hell, I got friggin' stunlocked to death by the stupid goblins and friggin' rats. Oh my god, those rats. I've got stunlocked to death by what was it? The snakes. 2 snakes stunlocked me to death. I died because they kept paralyzing me and paralyzing me and paralyzing me. That's fine if you've got 4 people, but when you've got 2 people and they are both paralyzed, it's the same problem I had in Depression. 2 people, both paralyzed, more than one monster, it's going to attack and attack and attack and keep paralyzing and attack, and you can't do anything. Divided between 4 people, it's a little more manageable. But 2 people, not the fucking at all. And some of the monsters, yeah, I know, but oh god. And save points. It really needed a save point in that first dungeon. Oh my lord almighty, did it need a save point. I would have been so happy to see one of those goddess statues right before that boss room. Oh lordy, would I've. I really would have. I would have been like, I'm in there like Flynn, give me that shit. Yeah. Also, you didn't have a goddess statue in the first town in the temple like you in the church like you have with the others. So when I first ran into a goddess statue, I had no idea that I could save there. I only checked it out of curiosity. And most people aren't going to do that. They'll see it, they'll be like, statue, and just walk on. And they'll be missing out on your thing. You've got to show them straight up, okay, this in the first town. And this is how you should do it. Your first town should always have at least one of everything that you can search, and at least one of some of the things that you're going to be using, like save statues. You should definitely introduce saving points early if you're going to have them. You could even have a character point them out and say, hey look, there's that save again. You know, it's there that people can actually see it and say, okay, I've been told about this, I know what this is. If you don't, most people are usually going to go around to town, the first town, and click on everything if they've played an RPG before and know about hiding shit. They're going to click on everything, and if nothing is hidden in the town, they'll have no idea that there's anything to find later on in the towns. Trust me on this one. Because the first town is basically your teaching central. That is your tutorial central, and that is where you should be teaching everyone how to play your game. Oh my god. I need to write an article. And then, wait, let me consult my little book. Oh book, wonderful, mystical, wise book. I do believe I've forgotten a few things that I've griped about, but you probably saw them in the thing. Fun? Well, it kind of wasn't. Too much grinding, too big. It's not so much that the dungeons were big, but more so that they were back to back and there was a lot of backtracking through them. I mean, that first dungeon, if I hadn't cheated, I would have had, the second dungeon, I would have had to go through that a few times. Wait a second. I'm back. What was I saying? Backtracking. In the second dungeon, the tunnel, we had to go back and forth through that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And that was fucking ridiculous, man. There's something else I thought of while I was having dinner. Skills? Look at my healer. She got, I think around level 5, a defensive skill that puts everyone's defense up. And then a level or 2 after, she got another defensive spell that only put one person's defense up. That's just ridiculous. She has no need to get 2 of the same spell. It's just ridiculousness. Would have been nice to have a stronger heal spell after a while. I mean, the first one, yeah, okay, that worked fine. But it would have been nice to have a stronger one a few levels away. There were some mapping errors. I pointed those out, I do believe. And that's it. It wasn't really fun. It wasn't really. I was kind of looking forward to a good old-fashioned romp, and what I got was a stomp in the face and a haha fuck you. So yeah, that was Deception. It had some good ideas in there. I liked how you did the monster generation, although it would have been nice if there hadn't been like 5 million monsters all at once in your first group. Stun locking, shit, fuck that shit. You know, it had some good things about it. It just had some pretty awful things about it that dragged it down. So, best luck on your next game, and yeah, just best luck on your next game. That was Let's Judge Deception. I'll see you next time. Ciao, guys.